Hello, and welcome to the first ever Hour of Code, Code.org Google Hangout on Air. This is a new technology that we're trying out as a way of reaching all of the great organizers who are helping contribute to making Hour of Code a big success this year. We have 50 viewers so far, so if you're one of them, that's great. We're going to start in about 30 seconds while we wait for a few more people to join in. I just want to say there's this question and answer application on the side of the screen. And while we're going on, while we're giving the first few minutes worth of introductions and background, feel free to contribute questions of anything that you're interested in learning about. If someone's already asked a question and you want to sort of second it, there's a little plus button you can click. We will be answering the questions in the order of whichever ones get the most pluses and working our way down. So and thank you for all of you guys checking in. Unfortunately, there's not a great way to chat here, so let's try to keep the questions to actual questions for conducting the Hour of Code. And although I do appreciate all the enthusiasm and passion we're seeing from many of you. So with that, I'm actually going to start by turning it over to the Executive Director of the Code.org organization and also the founder of this whole organization and movement, Hadi Partovi. Hadi?
Hi, everybody. I had no idea when we launched the first Code.org video featuring Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Jack Dorsey what an amazing reception there would be. 20 million views later and 13,000 schools asking us for help later. The project has grown to much, much bigger than I would have expected. What's been especially amazing is with the Hour of Code movement. It was literally an idea that got hatched about 3 months ago, and 4 weeks after announcing it, it's now already on track to be the largest education event in history, with 1.9 million kids already signed up to do it, and at the current rate of growth, we're well on track to reach 3 million kids by the time CS Education Week comes around. So we're really, really excited about it. The biggest message I want to say is that the point of the Hour of Code campaign isn't necessarily to grow computer scientists or to get people ready to jump into computer science as a major or get jobs or whatnot. It's just to get people introduced, just to understand what is this thing about, and to help them realize that anybody can do it and everybody can do it, and especially that it's not just for white men, that girls can do it, that Latinas can do it, African Americans can do it. Basically we want to create a sense of community and togetherness that everybody in the world is trying this skill that is not taught in our schools. So more important than anything else is to basically emphasize the inclusiveness when going through this process and this sort of through the actual Hour of Code. And in that interest, one thing James is going to say at the end of this talk, and I'll say at the beginning, is if you're hosting an Hour of Code and you're excited about it, please recruit one other organizer, teacher, or host to do the same thing. If the 10,000 people who've already signed up to host it each recruit one other person, we'll reach 5 million kids, which is even more impressive than where we already are at. That all said, James is going to come back to walk through some more details.
Great, thank you, Hadi. Great, so my name is James Gwartzman. I'm the Chief Evangelist here at Code.org, and I've been helping organize a lot of the information materials around the Hour of Code exercise itself. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go through some of the steps needed to actually set up and run the Hour of Code itself at your school. My comments will only be a few minutes, and then we'll turn it over to the questions. So let me go over here and do a screen capture. I want to start, the single biggest question we get from everyone is people asking, how do I see the actual tutorials? What are the tutorials? And so let me quickly jump over and show what that's going to look like. So if I do a screen share here, and I go to this web page. So, okay, so let's see if we get this right. Yes, so this URL, csedweek.org/learn2. This URL is the public beta preview of all of the tutorials that we're going to be offering during the for the Hour of Code during CS Education Week. And they're grouped into different categories. Now, not all the tutorials in here are final. Many of the tutorials here are in still a beta state that are not completely finished. And in fact, there's some tutorials on here that might not be on here when we finally go live, and there might be some tutorials not on here that will be on there when we finally go live. But this is a good starting point. And you can see that we've got it organized by categories. We've got tutorials for beginners, We have tutorials for teachers in schools with no computers at all. These are so-called unplugged tutorials that you can do with no computer at all. We have some slightly more advanced tutorials that actually teach JavaScript, an actual programming language that looks like what people often think code is with text. Tutorials for any device, including things like iPhones, iPads, Android phones, and so forth. And tutorials that create actual apps for devices like phones. And finally, other various learning options. Each of these categories has several different tutorials inside of it. So for example, this tutorial here, if you're a teacher wondering, I don't want to do my own research, I just want a single tutorial, which one should I do? This is the one you should do. This is the one that we've built ourselves here at code.org. It is it's a polished, relatively easy to use, graphical way of learning computer science. And I'll actually take you into it in a second and show you what it looks like. But there are others. There's this one. There is Scratch, which has created a Builder and Holiday card tutorial. Khan Academy has created a very similar introduction to JavaScript, and so forth and so on. So there's a number of ones you can go through here and try it out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly show you what this looks like, and then we will come back to some other comments. So if you hit go, it will take you in. It shows you a short video. Skip the video, and it takes you into the tutorial itself. And in this tutorial, for example, students will be moving these blocks, these graphical blocks around to create a program to solve a series of simple puzzles. And these start off very simple, they get more complicated, and along the way students are learning the actual concepts of computer science. So even though it may seem like they're playing a game, by the time they're done going through these 20 puzzles as part of the hour of code, they will have learned some basic principles of computer science. They'll have learned about for loops, if statements, the notion that a program is simply a series of commands like a recipe that a computer doesn't order. They'll have learned how literal computers can be and how sometimes your first program doesn't always work, and you have to often debug it and go through several times. And that is a very simple tutorial which will satisfy the hour of code. So we'll go back to the video here. And so that is a way for you to try out the hour of code and see what the tutorials look like. In terms of mechanics, what we're expecting at this point is each of you who have signed up or are thinking of signing up represent or work with a group of students either in a school setting or perhaps an after-school organization. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be, by signing up to do the hour of code, you're saying that you're going to bring those students at some point during CS Education Week, December 9th through 15th, you will set aside roughly an hour with your students to sit down and do one of the tutorials, either the one I just showed you or one of the other tutorial options that's available. And if at this point, if you're attending this webcast and you're listening to this, you already have all the tools you need in order to do the hour of code. Even if your school only has one computer or even no computers, you can do the hour of code. The ideal situation, though, would be if your students can each have a device of some sort in front of them that they can use to do the hour of code, either by themselves or paired up 2 or 3 students per device. It doesn't have to be a PC. For example, I've got here a tablet. This happens to be an iPad, but we also have other devices working. And so, for example, here we have that same tutorial screen, and if you actually hit go here, you'll see it will launch the same puzzle we were just looking at. Skip the video. And here you can see I'm actually doing the exact same program that I was just running. Run program, and you can see the Angry Bird getting the pig and jumping to the next level. So that's the same tutorial running on a tablet device. It also runs on smartphones, and we're working on making sure we have compatibility with a whole bunch of different browser devices on PCs, tablets, Android, Surface, and so forth. So if you have access to devices, you have what you need. The goal is to sit down with your classroom, go to the tutorial you've chosen. Every student will have a very, very simple sign-up process. They essentially, actually, when you sit down and do the hour of code, you go right into the tutorial. At the end of the tutorial, we have a couple questions that are optional. And then we'll be tracking how many students begin their hour of code using through those pages, and that's how we'll know how many students ultimately participate in the hour of code. And I think that's all I really want to talk about today. So I guess I have just a couple other housekeeping things. We've got a lot of questions from teachers about the prizes we're offering. So, for example, we've announced that every teacher who does the hour of code will receive a free Dropbox account. Those Dropbox accounts will be given out after the hour of code is over. So to qualify, you have to be signed up. You have to have gone to the csedweek.org website. You have to have registered to do the hour of code. And after the hour of code is over, all the teachers who registered, who actually did the hour of code, will be receiving instructions from us on how to get your Dropbox account. Another thing is we often get asked by teachers is how do they start? How do they start doing the hour of code with their students? And the answer is that the csedweek.org website will have a video on the home page starting December 9th. And that video is the best place to start the hour of code with your students. So if you get into a classroom, you sit down, the students go to the page, you can show them that video that will be on the home page of csedweek.org. That will be a short, inspiring video explaining and inspiring them to do the hour of code. And then each of them will then go in and begin the actual tutorial. And the tutorials are designed to be self-teaching. If you have some computer background yourself, that's great, but even if you have absolutely no prior experience with technical savvy, it's okay. Once you get your students into the hour of code tutorials, the tutorials will take over and do it themselves. And if students get stuck and you're unable to answer the questions, I'm sure some of the other students will be able to help them out because they're meant to be so easy. If you're in a school or classroom that's slightly more technically advanced, you're welcome to try some of the more advanced tutorials. And if your students finish the beginning tutorial very quickly, they're welcome to go back and try some of the more advanced tutorials on their own if they have extra time left over, so that they're not sitting around waiting. And with that, let's go to the questions. That's what we have here. So the first question we have, just a second here. First question we have is, I would love to hand out stickers or swag to our students for participating. I'm happy to buy from an outside vendor, but can we get a raw image to manipulate? Absolutely. So on the, let me show you over here, on the CS Ed Week, let me just a second, let me jump over into screen share. Okay, on the csedweek.org website itself, at the very bottom, we have a link to something called the resource kit. And if you go to the resource kit, there's all the materials that might be helpful to you in putting other materials for the hour of code. And so, for example, if you go to the logos section, here are some logos you can use. If you go to, for example, banners, we have some banners that you can use. There's some images here you're welcome to use in your materials. We also have links here, for example, to posters that you can print out and adapt. Let me go back to the question, make sure I answer the question. In terms of stickers and swag, are we okay putting the code.org logo up for people to download? Yes. Okay. So if you go to the logos page right here, the one logo that's not on here, if you want to give out the actual code.org logo, the CODE in a box, we'll make that available as well. Those make a great sticker for kids who are excited about computer science and want to show that. So we'll make that available as well. But we do ask that you not modify that logo or combine it with other material. You have to use that logo by itself as a standalone entity. That's one thing we ask. Yeah. How do we feel with them putting it on a poster they create themselves? Like if they create a poster for their school.
As long as it's not referring to other code.org.
Yeah. So if you want to create your own, let me go back to the video. If you want to create your own hour of code poster, and you want to put the code.org logo on there, that's fine. We just ask that you not use it for something that's not hour of code or CS Ed Week related. Okay, so next question we have on here is, do I need to ask my students to register when they do the hour of code? Well, my students need to enter their email addresses. No, students do not need to enter their email addresses. Teachers can go to when your students begin the hour of code, there's no registration process needed up front. Students can go right into the tutorial. At the end of the tutorial, there is a optional set of questions that will ask questions like their gender, age. No, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I was going to step in here.
So our tutorial doesn't require entering your email address, nor do most of the most popular ones. And we've asked from anybody who's submitting tutorials to not require sign-up. There are some people who are requiring sign-up on their tutorials, and we're putting those at the bottom of the list because for two reasons: for the children's privacy, but also just to remove an extra step required before you start doing it. At the end of the hour of code, when you finish and it gives you sort of a congrats message, there's two optional things a student can do. They can optionally enter their email address to get a certificate of completion in the email, and they can optionally say are they a boy or a girl, or really to donate their 1 hour to the boys team or the girls team because we want to basically create a small competition to effectively show that girls can do this too, and we highly suspect we'll hit 50-50 participation by boys and girls. And we're actually not saving that information on a per user basis. It's just a vote because it's not really a statement of the person's gender. Now, we are also curating a whole bunch of follow-on tutorials for people who want to go beyond an hour, which is basically if you're interested and you thought this was great and you want to learn more, there's a whole bunch of options for learning more, and those are longer than 1 hour tutorials. Every single one of those has some form of sign-up involved. Those have nothing to do with the hour of code, and those are basically for the student who wants to learn on their own. They can do it. And some of those require email address, some of those require your parents' email address, some of them require your teacher's email address, and it depends on which one you choose. And those are all basically not required as part of the hour of code.
Great. Okay, thank you, Hadi. Okay. Actually, you can stay here in case you answer other questions. So that's the next question we have is from Doris Spencer. She's asking, right, so she's asking, she sees where the students could get the certificate, but an email is required to get the certificate. I'm in elementary school, students do not have email. I could use my email, but that would swamp me. Is there a certificate we can post that people can download and use? And I see no reason why we can't post a generic certificate form. We'll make a note of that. But you're also welcome to create your own certificate form if you want to use that sort of purpose. The certificate we email out will be basically an image that has their name and some other information on there. Okay, so yeah, so we'll take a note of that and post it in that resources kit you saw earlier.
The reason we required doing it the way we did is to personalize it with their name, and so they receive it at home if they're doing it at school.
Yeah, and we also felt, and the other thing that is that when we do email that out to the students, there is going to be some information on there for parents in case parents want to learn more what the student did and get more involved themselves, for example, helping encourage their students to do more computer science. Okay, next question. Will we make the video on csedu.org available for download on a site other than YouTube, which is blocked for so many schools? So we've actually made a lot of efforts so all the videos on our website, we've made an effort not to link through YouTube, but rather to link through education, a special version of YouTube specifically for educational institutions, which in theory is not blocked. So we're making an effort to make sure that our videos are not blocked. The promotional video, as well as all the videos that we have on there now, are available for download. In fact, if you go to the resources kit videos, you can actually download those videos as files that you can then download to your laptop and show. So if you don't have a working internet connection, you can download those videos ahead of time and show them in your classroom. So I hope that answers that question. Next question. Another question was, can we use a code.org logo in our event posters? We already said yes, you can. We'll make that logo available off of our website for you to download, as long as the event posters are specifically for CS Ed Week or Hour of Code events. The other question, is there a special logo for the Hour of Code? No, we made a conscious decision not to create a logo for the Hour of Code itself because we didn't want Hour of Code to be seen as a special branded entity. The Hour of Code is more of a concept. It's a theme for this year's CS Education Week. And so there is no Hour of Code logo. We're purposely using the words Hour of Code every time we talk about it, and that's why there's no logo for that. Okay, next question. We are an NGO promoting coding in Hong Kong, and we're very happy to learn about the Hour of Code. Are there cooperation opportunities with Code.org? So Code.org, we're essentially a clearinghouse. So the mission of Code.org is to ensure that every student has the opportunity to learn computer science. And so we promote organizations and we promote opportunities for students to learn computer science. That said, we can't partner with and get directly involved in all the various amazing activities that so many of you are responsible for around the world. So the best we can do is we can link to and provide references to educational opportunities, whether those are online courses or tutorials or Hour of Code, and occasionally we will call out and highlight on our various social media channels notable articles or events that we think are relevant to computer science education. But we're not really in a position to directly partner with a lot of these local events. We really see this as an opportunity for each of you to be doing amazing things around the world in pursuit of computer science, and when we see things that we think are opportunities for us to promote, we'll mention them on our channels. But for this particular example, if you want to have a kid coding competition, or if you want to run a Code Day campaign in Hong Kong, go for it, do it, and we think that's fantastic, and we don't think you need our help to pull that off. Okay, let's see, next question. My class period is only 40 minutes. Can I still do the hour of code? Of course you can. The hour of code is more of a concept. It's not literally a 60-minute only activity. And in fact, we think many students can probably get through our tutorial in even just half an hour. And if the students don't finish, it's okay. They can still exit early and get credit for completing the hour of code, or they can come back and try to finish it on their own time. Okay, someone was asking us now, what's the link again for showing the Angry Bird? So yes, so the link is csedweek.org/learn2. So again, that's
just go to csedweek.org for what's an hour of code.
We'll do this live together. So we'll go to, just a second.
Where it says what's an hour of code, the first link there goes to it.
Yeah. So we'll go to csedweek.org. Okay, so here's the csedweek.org webpage, and right down here, in the very center, what's an hour of code, right here, where it says we'll provide a variety of tutorials. If you click on that, actually, an even easier one is at the bottom says check out tutorials in beta. Click on that link, check out tutorials in beta, and that takes you right to the tutorials in beta. And the very, very first one here, the one that's right in the center, where it says tutorials for beginners, write your first program at code.org, hit the go button, and this takes you to the Angry Bird based tutorial I was showing you just now. And you can use these buttons at the top here to skip ahead. For example, if you're feeling ambitious and want to see level 19, you can skip ahead to level 19 and actually see that.
Can you show them, by the way, how they can not just dismiss the videos, but see the notes for the videos?
Yeah. And
some teachers that want to watch videos in the classroom.
And one thing, you don't hit the bottom? Yeah. So one thing to note is if you for some reason you don't have access to it in your classroom, you can actually click over and go through these notes and actually get the same information in a non-video format. So if you're one of those teachers, a student, or institutions that blocks videos for whatever reason, you can always look at the notes here and get the same information. One thing I should note is the videos will be conducted by some notable tech celebrities, which is a lot of fun. So those videos are actually going to be more than just information. They'll be kind of fun to watch too by some folks you'll recognize. And in fact, when you go through tutorials now, you'll see some of the videos include, for example, Mark Zuckerberg teaching about loops, Bill Gates teaching about the if statements, and others. So that's actually a lot of fun. Okay, next question: what languages are the Hour of Code available in? We are making a big effort to have the Hour of Code localized into as many languages as we can. And in fact, right now there's a huge volunteer effort underway to localize the Hour of Code into like 100+ different languages. In fact, if I want to show you,
I can read off the languages. We already have German, Indonesian, Portuguese, Brazilian, Romanian done. We will have, by the time it launches, Russian, Italian, Norwegian, French, Greek, Dutch, at least, and Chinese if James' friends in China pull through for us.
And if students, if anyone on this phone call wants to help us localize, where can they go? Let's show them the process. Where would they go to?
Just go to the bottom of that page in the footer.
Okay. So the bottom, actually, right?
No, right.
Okay. So at the very bottom, yes, at the very bottom of the tutorial page, you can see Help Us Translate to Your Language. Click that button, and you can sign up here. And it will actually will send you information on how to translate. Actually, isn't there?
Correct. Okay. You can also go to code.org/translate.
Just for reference, code.org/translate. And this is another. These are all the materials on how to translate. So you can go here and find information. And we'd love to have your help translating the Hour of Code. Okay, we go back. Okay, next question. We have. I can't do the Hour of Code during CSED week because I have final exams and so forth. Can I do it before and after? Absolutely. We would love you to do the Hour of Code during CSED week, but if you can't, that's fine too. Doing the Hour of Code after, or even frankly the week before, although the week before we're not quite sure exactly when all the absolute final materials will be posted, but certainly you can do the Hour of Code after CSED week, that's fine. In fact, we're thinking that the Hour of Code beyond CSED week maybe be this perpetually ongoing process where anyone anytime can go in and do the Hour of Code long after the CSED week is over. Okay, next question. We've had some trouble getting learn.code.org to run properly on IE, Internet Explorer. Did I hear you say you were working on the program running different browsers? Chrome works great, but we don't have Chrome on our student laptops. We're making a huge effort to ensure compatibility across as many laptops and as many browsers as possible. I'm happy to say that IE now works on IE 9, IE 10, IE 11.
As of yesterday.
As of yesterday, we got it working on IE 9, and IE 8 we're still working on IE 8. It's the older the browser you get, the less support it had for some of the techniques we're using now for Hour of Code. But we're trying to make sure it's going to run as many as possible.
But one thing I should say on this is we are going to do browser detection. Yeah, it's funny coming each time. We're going to do browser detection for people's computers, and if they're running on Internet Explorer, we'll show the tutorials that work on Internet Explorer for your browser, so that students aren't stuck trying something that doesn't work on that particular browser. The Scratch tutorials in particular, which is a great one, will work on pretty much any browser that has Flash installed, which all the older browsers do.
Fair. Why don't you stay here since you have some useful information? Let's take a look here. So, so almost everyone is a beginner. Do we have a suggestion for which tutorials fit each grade or ages? Yes, the tutorials will have kind of rough age breakdowns. If you go to the tutorial page, you will see some suggestions for different age ranges. That said, the code.org tutorial we've created, we worked hard to make sure that really works from literally ages 8 to like 88. So even if you have third graders, second graders, we've tested it on a four-year-old, and she was able to get through quite a few levels herself. So whether you're early elementary school, all the way up through high school, we've had high school students doing that tutorial, having fun with it, and we've even had folks in well into their 20s, 30s, 40s doing it as well.
Current Learn page suggests ages, but those aren't exactly accurate yet. But either way, the delineation is going to be really beginners or intermediate, and that's actually more important than age, because there's advanced 10-year-olds who already know Scratch who will find the beginner stuff boring,
right.
And there's high school students who've never done it before who will need to start at the elementary level.
Many classrooms will have a couple students who happen to have already been exposed to programming, and rather than them make a big deal about how easy this is and potentially demotivate some of their peers, it's probably better for those two students to try one of the more advanced tutorials while the true beginners in your classroom do the kind of core Hour of Code experience. Okay, next. How can I get a speaker from code.org to come to my school? So unfortunately, we would love to send a speaker from code.org to every school in this country. Sadly, that's not something we can do. What we can do, however, is encourage you to seek out technical mentors in your community. Across the country now, virtually every community has some sort of local business that is involved in programming or computer science related activities. And in our experience, engineers and other professionals from those types of organizations are only too happy to come to schools and talk about the importance of computer science education.
We are hoping to pull this together at the last minute. We have a database of about 25,000 engineers who want to help with computer science education, and we're hoping in the next 4 weeks to basically line them up by location to give you a list of possible engineers near you who could come to your school to help with the Hour of Code or to kick it off or to talk about what they do at their workplace or things like that.
What I will say is we are having, as you may have seen from our website, we are having a series of tech luminaries kicking off the Hour of Code virtually using the same technology we're using right now with a number of different schools. So for example, we're going to have, for example, Bill Gates has agreed to do a chat with up to 10 different classrooms live. And those 10 classrooms, we'll be picking those randomly. Those classrooms have a chance to be interacting directly with Bill. However, those chats will also be broadcast live via YouTube and other means after the fact. So any of you who want to have your classroom watch someone like, for example, say Bill Gates kicking off the Hour of Code, you'll have that chance to show that video to your classroom, and that can be quite inspiring. So if you can't get a live speaker, we can offer you a pretty inspiring speaker virtually. Okay, next question. What is the intended outcome for students after the Hour of Code? We want to start with the end in mind of our students and cast a vision that's consistent. Great question. Obviously, the Hour of Code was just a 1 hour long thing and that was it, then it would be nothing more than a marketing stunt, and that's not our intent. So part of what we're intending is that the Hour of Code is a way to demystify computer science, to spark that interest and help students realize that computer science is not as intimidating as perhaps they thought it was, and hopefully encourage them to go on and pursue a much longer and deeper introduction to computer science. So we ourselves have created a 20-hour-long online tutorial where the Hour of Code, that 1 hour long tutorial that we're promoting as part of Hour of Code, turns out that's actually just the first hour of a 20-hour-long series of tutorials. And we're encouraging teachers and students to do those either on their own free time, or we're actually encouraging students or their teachers to incorporate that 20-hour-long curriculum into their own classrooms as part of, say, a math or science track within their classroom.
One thing I'd say is kids in K through 12 grades, almost none of them are actively thinking about jobs or developing a tech-based business. Their parents are certainly thinking about that, but you ask the average 8th grader, that's nowhere near on their horizon. And there's really two messages that resonate well with kids in terms of why study this stuff. One reason is that simply no matter what you want to do, if you want to become a doctor or a politician or an accountant or a nurse, this is something that's relevant to learn for the 21st century. And the second message is building a cool smartphone app that you can share with your friends, which way more kids are interested in that than getting a job, at least at the younger age ranges. So.
Yep. Okay. Hope that answers the question. Next question here. What about paper-based games if there's no computer access? Absolutely. So when I mentioned that series of unplugged tutorials, those are all paper-based activities that you can do with literally just paper and pencil and no computer access. There's a little bit of prior preparation involved. As a teacher, you need to print out some materials ahead of time and otherwise prepare for it. But you certainly don't need a computer to do those activities. And in fact, you can do them outside.
Those are already listed on the website.
Yeah, yeah. So you can go there now and try them out now and start preparing for those right now. Yeah. And next question, someone's calling out that Scratch requires Flash. What about devices like iPad or flashless computers? I actually don't think Scratch will run on the iPad, unless I'm mistaken.
Scratch requires Flash, which has strengths and weaknesses. The benefit of that is that it'll work on the older computers that don't support HTML5, but all have Flash. So if you're on Internet Explorer 8 or on a Mac pre-OS 10 or even pre-OS 10.4, you won't be able to run the newer tutorials, such as the code.org tutorial, where you will be able to run Scratch. Whereas on the iPad, you can either download an app, which somebody else asked a question for, or you can run the code.org tutorial or the Snap tutorial. There's basically 3 providers, code.org, Snap, and Tinker, that are in the drag and drop category that will work on an iPad without a download, and there's a whole bunch of others that if you download will work on an iPad. But if you're on an older browser, you should use Scratch. And to help make this easy for you, since I know this all in my head, but it's not as obvious, if you visit the tutorial page with the computer you want to use, it should sort the most relevant category to the top. So if you're on an Internet Explorer browser, it'll show you these are tutorials that work with Internet Explorer. If you're on a mobile browser, it should show your tutorials that work on your device. And if you're on a regular sort of Chrome or Firefox modern browser on the desktop, it'll show things that work there as the top carousel.
Okay, thank you. Getting to the end of the questions here. Locally, I am speaking on the importance of teaching computer science to children. Can Hour of Code help schools with an already prepared talk or slides so parents who aren't tech savvy can educate parents in the community?
Yes, that's actually available on the CSED website.
Yeah, it's a resource kit, right?
Yeah,
I'll show you right now. So it's a great question. And in fact, this is not just for parents trying to educate their schools. For teachers who want to, for example, one thing we're encouraging you to do is host an assembly in your school where you can you host an assembly in school to kick off Hour of Code and encourage your students. So if you go to Resource Kit, go to Presentations. There are some presentations in here that you can download. For example, here we have a CS Ed Week pitch deck you can download, and you can actually right here download right now. And we may try to put some other ones up there as well. This is specifically a kickoff.
There's another one that's harder to find.
On here also?
Yeah, well, we should add it to here.
Okay.
There's a much better presentation. We'll add it up there. Basically, if you go to csedweek.org under Resource Kit in the footer and presentations, after we get off this call, we'll put another better presentation up there.
Yeah. What do you think was it the schools thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's designed for showing to teachers or educators.
Yeah.
It's down there.
Yeah. Guide to teachers?
Yeah. If you click on Guide to CS Teachers, and then it says these PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
So it's hidden over there, but we'll put it in the resource kit as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna look. Now. Okay. Okay, let me go back to our presentation here. Second. Okay. Let's see what's next here. What programming software will elementary schools use? Do you have an activity to recommend? So we obviously we can recommend the tutorial that we've built, the code.org tutorial, as designed for elementary schools. Scratch.
There's three that we'd recommend: Scratch, the code.org one, and Tinker. Okay. All three of those are designed for elementary school students.
And Tinker's free for schools.
Well, their Hour of Code initiative is free for schools. I'm not sure if the longer thing, I think they may have a free version or a paid version. Okay. For beyond 1 hour, certainly Scratch is very popular, Alice is popular, Kodu is popular, and the new code.org tutorials, I believe, will be very popular. Yeah. And we're going to have, in addition to the 1 hour list of tutorials, we'll have a separate list which is for beyond 1 hour, formatted in the same way. It's not quite up yet, although the tabs for it are up, so you can see that it's not. If you click the Beyond 1 Hour tab, you don't see anything yet, but those will be live certainly by the time of the Hour of Code to help you find them.
Just to show what he's talking about, so if you go to csed.org, learn to. Beyond, it's not live yet, but Beyond 1 Hour. By the time we go live with CSED Week, Beyond 1 Hour, we'll have tutorials you can do to take you beyond the Hour of Code and to continue your CS education.
And those will similarly have sections for beginners, which are basically designed for elementary schools.
Yeah. And so we have another question here, which is we started translating the tutorials. Will these wonderful tutorials be available after the campaign ends? Absolutely. So all the tutorials from Hour of Code will continue to be available after CSED Week is over. And in fact, we're going to, like I said, we're thinking that after CSED Week itself, we'll just encourage that Hour of Code to live on, and students can come try it anytime they want. And as far as editing and improving to translations later,
that will also be live.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be a continually evolving thing as well. Yeah. Okay. Does Code.org focus on U.S. only, or is it a worldwide commitment to the cause of coding knowledge?
I take this one.
Go for it.
We have two views on this. Everything that we develop that is marketing material or curriculum material, we think of something that is of international value, and we want to do as much as we can to translate our tutorials, translate our videos, translate our websites to other languages to enable everybody worldwide to benefit from our work. The things that we're doing that are U.S. only are the political advocacy work, trying to actually change laws in the states, or the effort of professional development to effectively bring teachers up to speed to teach classes. Those two are very local efforts. They're both local in nature and expensive to do worldwide. So for those things, we will do them in the U.S. only, but make the materials for them available for other organizations to be able to use worldwide. So marketing and curriculum, worldwide, advocacy and teacher professional development, U.S. only. And we already know that from the work we've already done, even from the initial video and certainly the Hour of Code, we know we're having worldwide impact, even if it's not quite as deep as the impact we expect to have in the United States.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question is, do we need to download an app for the iPads? No, let me show you. This is an iPad right here, and you can go to the browser. Go in Safari, the browser, and the browser goes right to, so in the browser here, going to the tutorials, and you can see this tutorial here, and this is actually running in the browser, so no special app is needed. That said, if for some reason you don't have internet access, because this does require internet access, if you don't have internet access but you want to use an iPad, there are applications you can download for the iPad, such as Tinker. I'm sorry,
Codable or Lightbot, and those are also listed in that whole list of tutorials.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, we'll highlight those for you. You can go in ahead of time when you do have internet access, download the app to your iPad or other tablet device, and then offline use those tutorials. But no, special software is not needed. Next question, you have a very slow internet. Can we download tutorials in advance? Again, it depends. The tutorial we've built, the answer is no. It's only available via the browser over a continuously connected internet connection, but there are some software and app versions which can be downloaded in advance. And again, you can always use the paper and pencil exercises, which require no internet access.
There's a section in the tutorials list that is called apps that teach coding, and those are things that you can download in advance. Some of them are apps for the iPad, some of them are apps for Android, some of them are for PCs and desktops.
Okay. Okay, let's see what we have here. What program do we recommend to use with students? We'd like to have them loaded ahead of time, using Scratch and GamePress.
So they're going to be listed in the order that we recommend, although we're basically reaching out to teachers to help us improve the recommendations to make sure we're sorting the different submissions we've received in proper order.
Yeah, but some of the recommended tutorials will be just be available through a web browser and don't require preloading. Others, for example, you mentioned Scratch. Actually, even the modern version of Scratch used to be a PC program you would download. Scratch now, I believe, is just a website. So, so the latest version of Scratch is simply hosted in a web browser.
Assuming you have the web, for beginners, I'd recommend the Code.org tutorial or Scratch. And for people who already know some programming, I'd recommend Codecademy or Khan Academy.
Okay, once again, what is the tutorial website? So again, it is csedweek.org.
It's csedweek.org. Right now, if you look under what's the hour of code, it's at the bottom of the link.
Yeah.
When the hour of code begins, there'll be a big, big red button saying Start Now.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we should be very clear. When you go to csedweek.org right now, that is a special version of the website designed for this kind of early ramp-up period, during which time we're pre-registering people. Once we get to December 9th, we will, and CS Ed Week begins, we will be switching over to a different version of the website that will look similar, but it will, the giant big button on the homepage will be Start the Hour of Code. So it will make it much, much easier to start the Hour of Code and do the tutorials once we get to December 9th, and we switch over to the, call it the live CS Ed Week website versus the one we have now, which is about pairing and pre-registering and so forth. Okay, question is, do we want you to use the tutorials from csedweek.org or codeacademy.com? You've been using codeacademy.com. So we don't care what tutorials you use. What we're looking for is for students to get exposed to computer science. If you're already using Codecademy and you're happy with Codecademy, that's fantastic. That's great. You're already way ahead of the game because it means you're already teaching your students computer science, and that's wonderful. The Hour of Code is really aimed at, well, it's aimed at everyone, but it's really aimed at those students in schools that don't currently have any computer science education and therefore we're using this as an opportunity to kind of kickstart and expose students for the first time to computer science. And so the tutorials we're promoting are really leveraged at that very, very first time experience and also for younger students. But if you've got students who are already being taught Codecademy, that's fantastic. We're certainly not going to say, don't do something, stop doing some tutorial and do something else. That's great. Can we do our own Flash ActionScript tutorials if we have the software? Again, if you are comfortable, yeah, absolutely, yes. If you're comfortable teaching your students how to develop, how to learn programming by using Flash, fabulous. That's fantastic. Are all these tutorials going to be up after the week? Yes, they will. The tutorials will be available beyond CS Education. We're getting to the end here. Some thank you notes. Here's a question. Will any of the Hour of Code tutorials contain information on how to write actual code, not just drag and drop? The answer is yes. For example, Codecademy has a series of tutorials on learning how to write JavaScript, and I believe there's some others.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple carousels. The first stage is going to be linear ones, but the next one right after is going to be how to learn JavaScript.
Yeah, I'll show that again right here. I know we showed it before, but just to clarify. So here are the carousel tutorials. Third one down, tutorials teach JavaScript. Each one of these tutorials right here is designed to teach actual coding. So there's Code Combat, there's Code HS, Khan Academy, Code Avengers, Codecademy, and so forth. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. Okay, next question. Can we have students complete our own tutorials, or do we have to use our resources? Of course, any computer science instruction counts for Hour of Code. However, the one thing I will say is if you're having students do your own tutorials and you're not starting the tutorial from our own website, their participation won't count toward our overall numbers of students kind of globally doing the Hour of Code. So we will have, I don't know exactly how yet, we will have a mechanism. So for teachers who are doing either offline tutorials using paper and pencil, or for teachers who are doing, or educators who are doing their own tutorials, we will have a mechanism for you to kind of report your participation after the fact. And that way we can both get those numbers into our system so they count toward the overall a number of students worldwide who did the Hour of Code, as well as we'll be able to know that you did the Hour of Code, so you're eligible for the Dropbox account and some of the other prizes, which you wouldn't otherwise be eligible for if we didn't know you did the Hour of Code. So there will be a mechanism to report your participation after the fact. Will the answer to these questions be in a written format after the chat? No, we don't have any plans of doing a transcript. Although if any of you volunteers want to do that and you send it to us, we'll post it. Yeah, but that's a good point. So this live webcast will be posted on YouTube as a video you can watch after the fact. So anyone who wants to go to the YouTube, watch the video, transcribe it, and send us that transcript, we'll post it. It's youtube.com/codeorg. No period, right? Okay, that's our channel on YouTube. Okay. Can I repeat the programs for elementary school? It'll be on the tutorials page. The tutorials page will make it very clear which ones are great for elementary schools. I was previewing the sites, and they require a login or account to use. I don't see a tutorial page and a way to have a teacher preview material without having to enroll. It was different to week part of the event. So I'm not sure how to. So some of the tutorials do require a logon or account to use. Those tutorials will be pushed down to the bottom of the page come CS Education Week. I'm not sure exactly how they're organized today. Most of the tutorials do not require any sort of logon in order to try using them now. And so you should be able to go to the tutorials page right now and try the tutorials as a teacher to preview them without having to do any sort of login. And if you're having problems with that, you can post on our forums or email us at help@code.org if you have further questions. Okay, it's been great, by the way, so far. Thank you, all of you, for so many great questions. Here's a great question, very important question. I registered my whole school. Do my teachers need to register also in order to get their Dropbox prize? Absolutely. If you have registered your whole school, individual teachers still need to sign up on their own with their own personal email addresses in order to be eligible for the Dropbox. Thank you. That's a great question.
Or email them after.
And again, after the Hour of Code, after CS Ed Week is over, that's when teachers will be getting their Dropbox account. We've heard from a few teachers who are frustrated that they signed up and have not yet gotten their Dropbox account, and that will happen after the Hour of Code is over. Let's see. There's a question about what we're going to do for kindergarten. So what are we going to do? So
for kindergarten, there's a number of tablet apps or iPhone apps. The one I recommend the highest is called Lightbot, which from age 4 and up they can do it. If you don't have a smartphone, the code.org tutorials can be played by kindergartners. They won't get very far, but it's still, if they can use a mouse or a tablet, Lightbot or the code.org.
They just can't read. They have to have someone help.
Yeah, my 4-year-old daughter is doing them. So
okay, all right. Okay. We're going to offer an open badge this event. It's been brought up before. We currently have no plans to offer an open badge, although it has been brought up before. Maybe for the 20-hour tutorial, it would be suitable for that. But I will say that if you're a Girl Scout troop and you want to do the Hour of Code in your Girl Scout troop, by all means, you can create your own fun patch for the Hour of Code and make that available to your troop. Let's see, any questions here? Right, so the question is, if I do the Angry Birds tutorial with 20 or 30 students, will every student work at his or her own pace, or is it better done in groups of 2, 3, or 4? Research actually shows that pair programming, or programming with more than like 2 or 3 students at a time in a small group, takes a little bit longer, it's a little slower, but it's ultimately more effective in knowledge retention. So if you, actually, we would encourage, therefore, students to do the Hour of Code in pairs, 2 students per computer if you can. And that way, and then that pair of students can work through together and help each other as they go through. That's actually a really fun way to do it.
It's also more social, which is important for people who think that programming is just for
great point.
all by yourself.
So I guess we should say our official, therefore you heard it here first, our official recommendation is that you do the tutorials in pairs of 2. And that because it's more social, increased knowledge retention, they're better able to help each other get past obstacles that hit them and so forth. You can also do it, by the way, if you have a younger classroom, like say kindergarten, another way to do this is with the entire class together in front of a large projector or smartboard, where the teacher can kind of be more easily facilitate and the students can kind of shout out answers and have it be a very social activity. Also, some of the unplugged activities, the paper and pencil activities, are also suitable for younger children with a little bit more of scaffolding from the teacher. What does the plan need to look like? Is it okay for it to just be a list of teachers and times, or do you need a detailed account of the activities? This is a teacher. Let me explain the background here. So we have offered special prizes for schools that are offering the hour of code for the entire school. In fact, this is repeated here. We're making available a complete computer lab per state. So in every state in this country, 50 states, in every state we're going to pick one school that will receive a complete lab of free computers, which is fantastic. In order to qualify for that, though, you have to do the hour of code for your whole school, and you have to submit a plan showing how you're going to do the hour of code for your whole school. That plan does not have to so to answer this question, a list of teachers and times is sufficient to qualify for a logistical plan. In fact, let me hold this up. We're going to screen share here and show you where to find a sample plan. Just a second.
So if you go to csedweek.org actually, just go to csedweek.org. You say join us, and then look down. It tells you that there's prizes, and you want to see the details about the prizes. It tells you you need a logistics plan, and here's a sample plan. So this is what a sample plan looks like, which is for each sort of section of the day, which teacher is offering the hour of code to which students and how many students. So times and teacher names and number of students is all you need. You don't need to specify in advance the activities because we know that you're trying to sort them out yourselves.
Great. So that's an example of what a plan would need to look like in order to qualify for the computer lab. And I should say, at this point, there's a number of schools have submitted that they are doing the full school, but some states you have better odds than others. So I would encourage you. Let me quickly show you where that.
If you're in North Dakota.
Yeah, North Dakota especially, you're in great shape. I'll show you. If you go back to the csedweek.org page, my favorite page on the entire site is right here. We have a running tally of who's signed up so far. And so you can see right now we're up to 1.9 million students by 11,692 organizers. But you can actually see on their whole school here, these are all of the schools who have said that their entire school is participating. And so, for example, last week Arizona did well, but for example, schools like Arkansas, California, tough odds in California, Colorado, Delaware, only 4 schools in Delaware. Florida's doing quite well. Guam, Guam's eligible, but you get the idea. So you can go through here
and 50 states, one school in each state is going to win a class set of laptops.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're in a small state, submit a plan.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's see. Is it okay if I make an Edmodo badge for students doing the hour of code using the hour of code logo? Yep, great. That'd be fantastic. And if you do that, send an email to help@code.org and let us know about it. Or just post it on our Facebook page.
We prefer if you use the Computer Science Education Week logo rather than the Code.org logo, because the Hour of Code really is about Computer Science Education Week. Code.org is organizing it this year and pulling all the pieces together. But
that's an important point.
The Hour of Code is really about this internationally celebrated, in the United States, congressionally recognized week called Computer Science Education Week. So that logo is actually more important to use.
I'm going to underscore that point because this is actually really important. I think a lot of people, we're a very visible organization right now because we're helping organize a lot of these things, but we really don't want this to become about code.org. We're just an organization trying to do computer science to every student in this country and around the world, and it's not about us, it's not about code.org, it's about amazing work that you are doing, amazing work that educators in this country and around the world are doing, and ultimately about the students who choose to study computer science. And so if you're gonna promote anything, promote CS Education Week, which is about computer science. If you want to promote code because code is cool, that's great. But we really don't want code. It's not about us at code.org. There's so many amazing organizations and educators and companies and tutorials in the world. It's really not about us. So, but that said, by all means, if you want to create a badge, do so. That's a great idea. Okay, here's a great question. If you're an experienced IT person, how do you get plugged in to help? There's a few things you can do. One thing you can do, if you haven't done it already, is go to our website, code.org, and there's a place where you can sign up on there as a volunteer.
Sign the petition as an engineer, and then walk through the steps.
All right, so really quickly, I'll show you what you want to do. So go to, second, you're going to go to code.org, and this is us in our capacity as kind of clearinghouse. You can go to this right here, sign this petition, and then once you've done that,
Well, enter that you're an engineer.
Where's the engineer? Oh yeah. Once you sign up as a software engineer, that puts you kind of in our list of potential volunteers. We're not doing much with that yet, but we do have plans to try to make that more available to educators and schools. But more importantly, don't wait for us. Act local. If you're an experienced IT person, get into your community and make sure that your local schools are doing the hour of code. If they're having trouble, offer to volunteer and go in and help them. If you have a kid, get into your kid's classroom and work with their teacher to make sure they're teaching computer science in the school. Get involved in your local school board to try to promote, make sure your school board understands the importance of computer science in your community. Those are all important. Okay, we're 5 minutes left, so we're going to try to start to wrap things down. Let's just see some of the other top questions here. Let's see. Any questions? What I'm looking for now is I'm looking for questions that have not yet been answered, because some of the questions here are repeats of things we've already answered.
There's a question that says, I've registered my school and I'm submitting a logistics plan. Do I need to do anything else? And the answer is no, you don't need to do anything else.
We'll contact you after the fact. We will pick the winners in each state, and we will email the one registered educator and the person who registered their whole school has an email. We'll contact that email to say you've won, congratulations, and then we'll post a list of winners so you can all see who won in the states and do follow up. Yeah, and there'll be some logistics obviously to the computers. You won't suddenly get a truckload of computers arriving one day. There'll be some back and forth. Anything else on here? Go for it. Oh. It didn't. Why don't you go and answer the question yourself?
There's a question that says, I'm at an online high school and the students have different hardware and software. Do you have a suggestion that is geared for high school students that can be done online? As long as the computers are relatively modern, meaning IE9, Internet Explorer 9 or above, or Chrome or Firefox as the browsers, then either Codecademy or Khan Academy would work. And if these students have zero experience, then the Code.org tutorials would work. The 4 primary suggestions I said are generally good go-to ones. The Code.org tutorials, Scratch, Khan Academy, and Codecademy. And the way to choose between them is partly if you have an older browser, go with Scratch. If you have a newer browser, go with the other ones. And then decide if they're experienced programmers, go with the JavaScript ones, Codecademy or Khan Academy, with Scratch or Code.org.
Great. Okay, I think we're almost done. I'm just making sure we haven't missed anything here that's critical to get through. Just a second. A lot of great questions here from everyone. That's great.
Why don't we go through the questions and put answers on the forum if there's things that aren't answered.
That's fine. That's fine. So let's wrap that up then, because we're out of time. Thank you once again to all of you for taking the time to come in and do this webcast. We'll do this again at some point in the future, so there'll be another opportunity to ask more questions. And I guess our big call to action is make sure you've got your hour of code ready to go, that you've reserved a computer lab or otherwise set up your plan for how you're going to get in front of your students and do the hour of code. Recruit others. If you're in a school, get other teachers recruited. If you're in a community, get other organizations in your community recruited. If each one of you, as Heidi mentioned, if every one of you gets a single other educator to do the hour of code, and we can double the number of hour of code events we're doing around the world, we will hit our stretch goal of 10 million. So that's going to be huge. So
thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.